Oh my gosh, there is so you have to make sure you have an answer into Dondozo heading into the match. No Dondozo on site. Instead, Volcarona and Dragonite going up against the shiny Dragonite for Jesse and that Annihilate.
That Dragonite v Dragonite, of course, it's going to be the talk of the town this weekend. One of the most popular Pokemon in the format. You have to really figure out what the speed tiers are here when you have Pokemon that are the same on each side. Not everybody trains it the same way. One player might opt for a little more bulk compared to another who opts for a little more offense. So it might be a little bit too scary on turn one to opt into figuring out the speed tie. So it might take us a little bit before we figure out which of these Dragonites is consistently faster.
I mean, for Kylan, if you are worried about that speed tie, you're worried about a potential of a scale shot, you do have that Terra Fairy Terastallization. I would never get that right. Whereas on Jesse's end, instead, it's going to be that Terra Flying. So definitely one of those little changes where you do have to notice that you are not going to be immune to a fairy later on. But you do have that damage output if you do want to go for that fairy type, flying type, and it will at least drop your weakness, your dragon type. Volcarona, that will be the Tailwind. I love that set on the Volcarona. So now you don't have to worry about any speed tiers for Kylan. You just go fast.
Yeah, now with that boosted speed, this scale shot is going to hit at least 4 or 5 times thanks to its loaded dice held item. That's the 4th thing. You need to get 1 critical hit there onto Annihilate. That's going to help bring it down into the red. Hits all 5 times, does not get the KO, lowering Dragonite's defense, but it will also boost up the Rage Fist on Annihilate's end if he ever wants to go for that. But no, instead, it's just the final gambit, a pitiful amount of HP, knocking yourself out just to do a little bit to the opposing Dragonite, and now Jesse is going to match the Tailwinds.
That was the saddest final gambit I think I've ever gotten to see, considering it's based off of HP and it already taken so much damage. Setting up the speed so the other things are equal is at least nice. Of course, since Kylan did go for that scale shot, that is going to be a Dragonite with a +1 speed in addition to the Tailwind for Kylan's end. So something to be mindful of going on further into this match, especially now as Sneasler hits the field.
Yeah, and then another thing to keep track of in this set is that Kylan has access to extreme speed on this potential Terra Fairy Dragonite on the other, where Jesse has opted for Terra Blast in that as a Terra Flying type here. So you want to do more damage into a potential bug type in Volcarona on the other end, but at a certain point, if the speed tiers are still a problem, Kylan can win that at low HP because of extreme speed.
Volcarona too, since this is a set that has a lot of utility, you do have the Will-O-Wisp, but getting rid of something like the Volcarona so it's not suppressing the damage from later on is definitely nice. Protect from Sneasler, but the scale shot targeting into the Dragonite instead. Of course, this isn't going to be super effective since you did drop that Dragon type weakness, but the damage is stacking up. Not enough to be taking down a KO, especially since only going to hit 4 times, but the Dragonite for Kylan, that is now way more speed. -2s, you know, depends. We'll see how that works. Heat Wave, that is going to be the connect. Since you do, oh my goodness, it's going to hold on and get the burn though. So the Dragonite, that's such a clutch survival, but that's not going to be the damage that you want heading into this turn. Terra Blast flying into the Volcarona at full health, and it's not going to be enough to pick up the KO because of that burn.
The hot dog's in the water for too long and gets burned at 2 HP, going to be KO'd at the end of this turn. That would have been crucial to survive. Also important, that Dragonite on Kylan's end only hit scale shot 4 times in that scenario because the 5th would have obviously put it in range for a Heat Wave KO. So at least Jesse does get some solid damage onto the Volcarona on the other end. However, he's down to his final 2 Pokemon and already has used up the Terastallization, where Kylan hasn't even revealed the Pokemon in the back yet and still has defensive capabilities. This could be a situation where Kylan can decide, well, Dragonite's kind of done its job. It's -2 speed against the Sneasler, or -2 defense, excuse me, but it's super fast. It's in Tailwind and 2 speed boosts. So right now, let Dragonite do what it can, get some damage on the field, and then let those Pokemon in the back clean up the rest of Jesse's team.
At least when I'm looking at this Sneasler and this Indeedee, this is a power combo that can be dealing that damage, and Dragonite is going to protect on this turn. Dire Claw into that slot, so no damage done. Have to see the follow-up coming on out. That's going to be the Struggle Bug from Volcarona. Of course, that's not going to be necessarily the most damage onto the Sneasler. Indeedee takes a little bit more, but notably, that's going to be the special attack being lowered, and when you're looking at Indeedee that really needs to be doing damage, that's going to be lowered and lowered throughout the match. Of course, this is an offensively built Indeedee set, and and this has been a Volcarona. It's taking a lot of damage, but that's actually not going to be enough either.
Struggle Bug MVP there, keeping Volcarona through the turn, just barely hanging on in the red. So the burn was crucial. So so Terra Blast did less damage, and then the special attack drop on Male Indeedee, which is used more offensively, especially with how it is trained with this choice specs. That's so huge for Kylan. Jesse's in a spot that he cannot reset his Indeedee Male's special attack stats, so it's only going to get lower and lower.
The Dire Claw into the Dragonite, though, will at least get rid of one of the threats. But we did get to see last time what was going first. And Volcarona, that is the Will-O-Wisp into the Sneasler. This Volcarona, I think, easy MVP claim for this match so far. Now, Sneasler is burnt. The Indeedee has lowered one special attack. And sure, at just a sliver of health, it is going to pick up the Volcarona on this turn. But I think that this lead has done a lot of work. You've taken 2 KOs. You've suppressed these last 2 remaining Pokemon. Minus critical hits, or maybe just the worst match 2 Pokemon ever. This is going to be a little tough to be breaking through.
Yeah, and now the tailwinds do go out. So think about how much action we've had. It's only been 4 turns. We've already had a whole bunch of knockouts in this game in just those short amount of turns. And with the Unburdened boost because of Psychic Seed activating, Sneasler was able to outspeed Dragonite since they were both +2 at that point. But now, Kylan, you don't have to play any mind games. Just bring Tatsugiri and Dondozo in at the same time. No damage. You get that boost to all of your stats by 2 stages thanks to Tatsugiri's Commander ability. And Kylan's strategy is pretty simple for the rest of the game. You have the Indeedee on the side, you have Sneasler who has been burned. You just try to go for just solid damage with your boosted Dondozo. It's really up to Jesse. Maybe try to get some sleep activations from Dire Claw or something to get back into this one.
Yeah, the Dire Claw's never gonna be there when you need it, and yeah, no status means no chance for that Indeedee. And yeah, Wave Grass, that's a little recoil, but Sneasler, unless this is about to be the luckiest run of the Sneasler's life, we're not even going to try it out. That's going to be Jesse to forfeit the first match, and Kylan with the back of the Dondozo Tatsugiri to take the first battle in this set.
Yeah, really great back and forth by these 2 Canadian trainers in game 1, and Kylan coming out on top. Some moments that really felt, like the Volcarona was just so well trained to be able to endure that attack. The Psychic Terrain, the Psychic Terrain boosted Expanding Force from Indeedee Male, as well as the burned Terra Blast. So I think some things we're fortunate, right, to land the Heat Wave and then land the burn onto the physical attacking Dragonite there. So some strategies that Kylan's not necessarily going to be able to rely on again. Jesse started out the match pretty happy, but then his Annihilate responding with a 42 HP Final Gambit into the Dragonite just wasn't enough. Usually you see Choice Scarf on a Final Gambit Pokemon to make sure that it goes first, but because of the safety goggles on this team, because there is a Tyranitar there, you don't want to take any tick damage. It was no longer faster, took way too much damage to make it better, or to make it useful Final Gambit. So I think if there's a world that Jesse's making adjustments in game 2, excuse me, don't necessarily just put yourself down 4-3 right away on turn 1. Maybe try to save that Annihilate for later.
I mean, when you have this threat of your Dragonite on the field for Jesse's, it's so easy to think that, hey, maybe this is going to be a target into that. But of course, Kylan, you want to make sure that, especially with how much mileage this Dragonite of his put in, you want to make sure that you're not going to put yourself on the wrong side of a Final Gambit. But now, big switch up from Kylan in this game too. Actually, from both players, we're going to see straight up sand from Jesse, whereas for Kylan's end, that's going to be Nihilave and Archaludon.
Yeah, Jesse felt like that Dragonite Mirror lead just wasn't valuable enough on his end, especially because they can match the tailwind. So now they both switch. Smart play by Kylan to adjust your lead, understanding that your opponent was going to make a change. Tyranitar would have been pretty solid into the Volcarona, so now you have the Archaludon that's going to resist those rock hits, and Archaludon can really get set up. Annihilate on Kylan's end as well. Also safety goggles, but has Rage Fist and close combat, which is important into Tyranitar, who is 4 times super effective. And any damage Extra Drill does into Annihilate over time is just going to make that Rage Fist stronger throughout the duration of the match.
I mean, when you have an Extra Drill that really wants to click an Earthquake right now, it's not a surprise to see Terastallization coming out for this Tyranitar. That's going to be Terra Flying. Drop the weaknesses as well, be immune into the booth coming out from your partner Pokemon. So this makes a lot of sense. Plus, you get to have that flying type for your own Terra Blast. As with that Sand Rush, Extra Drill, first to act. This Sand team, we don't see it the most, but that's going to be a good chunk of damage for both of these starting off Pokemon. But close combat into the Excadrill instead, bringing it all the way down to its Focus Sash. So it can be sticking around if that's only the one and done hit. I'll have to see where this follow-up is intended and how it's going to be. The Flash Cannon, that's going to make sure this Excadrill only sticks around for the one turn.
Yeah, big damage from Kylan there to double target the Excadrill. Could have been a tough call if Excadrill protected, because then you get no damage and a Terra Blast super effective into Annihilate on this end. And the double up from Earthquake plus Terra Blast is enough to take out Annihilate. Now this Tyranitar is relatively solid if Volcarona is in the back, as you have access to rock attacks and flying attacks and a low HP Archaludon on the other end that might not necessarily be long for the game. But Dondozo is going to come into here at this point. You haven't revealed that fourth Pokemon. Jesse has to be anticipating that Tatsugiri is that fourth Pokemon, and until proven otherwise, that's how you have to play this game.
Especially too, if you want to try and, well, just take care of this Archaludon, and there is a swap. That is going to be a wasted turn. It's literally been the thing of Scarlet and Violet since this pair has come out. And you also have to make sure that you're not going to be taking too much damage onto a key piece like your Dragonite. And going for something like the Indeedee here, this Indeedee can threaten a lot of damage in the upcoming turn. So definitely do not mind that. That's going to be, of course, the swap in and the Psychic Surge.
Yeah, now the Psychic Terrain on the field. If indeed he gets to stick around through this Draco Meteor, it'll do more damage, but that's the question. And yes, it barely hangs on with 9 HP. Gonna lower the special attack of Archaludon, but the follow-up from Kylan and just double targeting into that slot, ignoring Tyranitar, has been so crucial for him in this game. Understanding Tyranitar is really not the big threat. You get the KO onto Archaludon, which is fine, but you still have a full HP Dondozo, and with potentially Tatsugiri in the back here, you can just start to set up the commander for free.
Yeah, if it is the Tatsugiri, we'll get confirmation on that in about, 10 seconds here. But both trainers down to 2 Pokemon. So this will be really interesting to see how this one likes to be playing out here. And with Kylan, the swap in confirmation, it is the Tatsugiri. So cue the elevator music as we wait for the next 10 seconds to see all those boosts go up.
So it is important to note that Jesse's Dragonite has Haze, and many teams, they use Haze as a last-second Dondozo counter, and here we find ourselves in that scenario that Dondozo has boosted itself up with the help of Tatsugiri, and not only do you get rid of your bad defense drops from Scale Shot from Dragonite holding Haze if he had that, but in this scenario, you can click Haze and reset all of the boosts on the field if he makes it through the turn.
Tyranitar, it was a close call, but is going to make it through that turn. And now Dragonite, that is the Haze. Not all Dragonites run this, but such a lovely tech. In a situation like this, it's going to be so nice. Knock off, making sure as well, we're going to get all that damage that we can. Covert Cloak is gone. So now it's just going to be a little bit of Sandstorm chip, but this Dondozo, significantly less terrifying now that, well, it just has normal stats. It's just a regular old guy.
Right, it's just a regular Dondozo on the field with no boost, incredibly slow, no extra bulk to its defenses or additional damage on the Wave Crash. It does have Order Up, technically as a dragon attack into this Dragonite, but the question is the follow-up damage from Tatsugiri once Dondozo is knocked out. You're going to need, if you are Kylan, you're going to need the Tatsugiri, who does obviously have access to Dragon Pulse, which would be super effective to take care of Jesse's Dragonite.
What's nice about this turn is being able to go for something like the Scale Shot and kind of play the speed game from there. And the Dondozo, such low health, so getting there. But we do get to see Terastallization clicked in the moments of this match, and that's Dondozo into this Steel type to try and make sure that, hey, this damage isn't going to be what you need.
Right, if you go for the Terra Blast thinking that it's not going to be, or you're trying to save your defense drop, well then you would resist the flying attack. But Scale Shot is going to hit 4 or 5 times. This is the 3rd time. Looks like maybe even if all 5 hit, it's still not going to be enough, barring a critical hit. No, Dondozo hangs on.
And that's going to be a Dondozo that, Terastallizing in such low health doesn't feel great sometimes, but that's going to be just enough to get the Dondozo through this turn. We're talking super effective Order Up into the Dragonite. So now we'll be able to finish it up next turn, but good chunk of damage there.
Yeah, now the Dragonite is down under half HP. Kylan knows that even if Dondozo goes down, a simple Dragon Pulse from Tatsugiri would be enough. However, you do have the speed boosts that are starting to pile up on Dragonite's end, especially if he clicks Scale Shot for a second turn in a row. And this is a Focus Sash Tatsugiri, not a Choice Scarf version of Tatsugiri. So once it comes out, if the sand is still active on the field, that could chip and break the Focus Sash. So Kylan wants to protect, get rid of the sand here as it does subside. So that way it's going to force Jesse to have multiple hits into the Tatsugiri instead.
Is taking care of it at this turn. That's Dondozo down. You had such little health that you had to do at this point. And now it's just going to be one apiece for these two trainers. Not Dondozo, the other thing, the Tatsugiri.
The commander.
The commander of the Dondozo out on the field. Now you have to be going for the Scale Shot in this situation. You need to be getting that damage out. Notably, it doesn't have the Focus Sash because it was chipped before, but now it's a little Tatsugiri that could. It is a Dragonite, and it's, well, which is faster.
Right, Dragonite does have the speed boost from the one Scale Shot. That defense drop didn't matter, obviously, since Tatsugiri is a special attacker, so he's going to protect and see what move Dragonite wants to go for here. Looks like will be the Scale Shot. So really, it does come down to if Jesse's Dragonite at +1 speed is going to be faster than the Tatsugiri.
Yeah, and we've seen some Tatsugiris in the past. They like to go for something like a Choice Scarf, but this one with the Focus Sash that is not helping you out up against the Dragonite is going to fall. And that's Jesse evening the score in the set and taking us into a game 3.
Nice game by Jesse, where it did look pretty tough on turn 1, losing Excadrill after just getting a little bit of damage. But Excadrill did its job. It was able to have that combination damage, the double target into Annihilate, and they essentially traded 1 for 1. And at a certain point, it did look a little tough for the Tyranitar as a Terra Hog, using Terra Flying in that spot where maybe another Pokemon might have appreciated it more. And I think that's something that Kylan can potentially try to take advantage of on this on Jesse's team composition. It pretty much obviously every Pokemon has access to Terastallization, but it really is a Terra Hog situation between Dragonite and Tyranitar, who both Terra into a flying type. So that could be something you can try to maybe take advantage of with your Electro Shot, Power Herb, Archaludon. Since they'd both be flying types, that would be super effective.
I mean, when you're looking at the threats on the other side, knowing that there is that Terastallization option, it is something that you need to be just flat out getting rid of. And when we're looking at something like the Tyranitar, does have that Assault Vest as well, but it's really just more so what's out on the field when you have that Excadrill, because that's where the flying Terastallization is coming into play too. The Excadrill did a lot of damage in that game, number 2 there on that very first turn, be kind of setting the pace, but then it did get KO'd shortly after. So I'm curious if you think that damage is necessary, or if there's another piece of the puzzle here to accomplish kind of the same thing, but maybe keep a Pokemon and not have it be so close to the end.
Right, I think that's something that if Jesse can find a way to preserve his Terastallization for later instead of just blowing it on turn 1 like he has in the previous 2 games, that might help. This is one way to do that, right? Tyranitar does not have to turn into a flying type for Excadrill to Earthquake freely. Dragonite is already a flying type on the field, so you have access to it. And I was going to say, for Kylan to lead Dondozo in the first 2 games, he hasn't gotten a lot of value out of the Dozo trickery, right? Will I swap Tatsugiri? Will I protect? And because it's been this final 2 Pokemon, now you have 4 Pokemon available for Kylan to try to trick Jesse.
Sure, you don't need to Terastallize here because of this Earthquake, because you're already a flying type, but you are staring down 2 Pokemon, both with access to, well, Dragon type moves that you definitely wouldn't appreciate. So we can still see the point of just clicking it here and kind of cover for whether Kylan wants to go for something like this Draco Meteor, or whether there is the swap into the Tatsugiri. I believe I saw it Haze, so you can right away get rid of that boost. Archaludon swaps out. The question, is it Tatsugiri? Yes! So we're going to see a lot of boosts, but I don't know if Dondozo is going to be keeping those for too long.
Well, the good thing about spread attacks like Earthquake is that you don't care about Tatsugiri switching in, right? But then also Kylan understanding that the Archaludon took so much damage on turn 1 from Excadrill in the prior game that's just not worth it to take that hit and swap it out, save Archaludon for later, maybe for after Jesse's already committed to a Terra Flying situation, just like you mentioned here with the Dragonite. So you want to preserve that Power Herb and an Electro Shot for later on this Dragonite.
Yeah, and that's going to be now Terastallization spent, but probably for good use as order up into the Dragonite. Looking at how much that did without being super effective, that's going to be great. Earthquake is just going to be a little chip into the Dondozo because it does still have some boost. It's actually Dragonite with the Tailwind instead, but this is still going to be speed advantage, and you can still go for that Haze on the next turn, and now you have the speed on your side as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, that now you will essentially negate the defense boosts on the other side before Dondozo is able to attack again. The critical hit doesn't even care about, you don't even need the Haze if Jesse's just gonna crit the whole time.
Hot dog, that's a lot of damage, and Dondozo, that was still with its defense boost. Now those are eliminated. Wave Crash into the Dragonite is still gonna be good. Pick up that KO, but Dragonite, they can sub this job.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you can bring another attacker out on Jesse's end potentially. We see that there's no need for the Tyranitar. I think Jesse understands Tyranitar not that great if Volcarona is not going to be brought into these matches, and you don't need the extra speed if Tailwind can be provided by Dragonite. So now Indeedee with its Psychic Terrain and Choice Specs into a low HP Dondozo. At this point, you can allow Extra Drill to break that or to knock out Dondozo and then let that damage go into Tatsugiri. Because Tatsugiri is currently in Dondozo's mouth, it doesn't even get to like attack this turn. You have to wait till next turn essentially. So
wait a whole business
this
day.
is essentially just free damage for Jesse on this turn unless Kylan protects.
That is going to be the protect, so that is going to be something, but I think it's one of those, okay, we'll just get to see it at a later time. And I think where that was really crucial, the amount of damage that came out from that high horsepower with the critical hit, because that's something that's really important for these players, is to be able to stagger the turn so you can just get a free hit at the Tatsugiri, because there's a lot of games that could be lost where the Tatsugiri on the following turn gets to just deal a lot of damage. And of course, this one will have its Focus Sash intact, so it'd be even more difficult to kind of get rid of. Now, Protect is gone. Tatsugiri can avoid this go about, but the Dondozo not quite as lucky, and the follow-up will at least get rid of that Focus Sash for the Tatsugiri as it is forced out onto the field.
Yeah, that's going to be bringing it down to its Focus Sash, and importantly, on this Extra Drill, he's been way healthier this time around than game one, or game two, excuse me, right? Got knocked out right away on turn one, but Jesse has just been able to keep that Focus Sash, keep the Extra Drill on the field. It's going to take multiple attacks to knock out the Extra Drill, and even if the Tailwind did expire, you still are able to stop Extreme Speed because of Indeedee Male being on the field, and you still have that Focus Sash to make sure the Extra Drill can probably still get an attack on this turn if it isn't double targeted. If you want to spread that damage around, Extra Drill does get to attack here.
Yeah, this Extra Drill, notably since we aren't seeing the Tyranitar, it doesn't have the Sand Rush, but having that Focus Sash as just a get out of jail free card, definitely nice on this turn. And the Tatsugiri, now that it only does have that 1 HP left, is something that's just a sliver of health, though it'll make it past this turn with the Protect. Now we'll get to see Indeedee expanding force. This is the Choice Specs, this is the Psychic Terrain, and Dragonite on the opposing end with the loaded dice. First hit, not gonna do too much. Second hit, does a lot, but actually not enough for that KO, and Scale Shot's doing a lot in return.
Yeah, that is going to be enough for the KO into Indeedee Male, but that is a great play by Jesse to double target the Dragonite. One, you're not really threatened by Tatsugiri as much as you are the Dragonite on the other end, and if it protects, you're in a bad spot. But by going for the Iron Head, you save against the potential Terra Fairy if Dragonite wanted to go for that slot. So it was just a really great play by Jesse to be in a commanding position right now. He does get to bring Annihilate onto the field. There's Tatsugiri with 1 HP, Dragonite's very low, and it's just a Arch Aladon in the back, which you have Close Combat or Earthquake into, which means Kylan's probably preserving that Terastallization for the Arch Aladon to turn into a Grass type.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that the Terastallization isn't wasted on a Pokemon. That's just going to faint anyways on this turn, but even with the number advantage for Kylan, it's all going to be, I believe, how this turn plays out, because hey, made it through the last one. If there had been that attack into the Tatsugiri, things could have gotten really dangerous. And I think that's what you have to kind of pay for this turn. A second's ticking away. Game 3, it is getting intense. Dragonite, the one to protect on this turn. Tatsugiri, it went for the protect last time and not going to go for the double. Rage Fist will get that final little bit of HP.
Yeah, Kylan swapping protects on these turns, saving Tatsugiri, now saving Dragonite, and Jesse deciding to split those attacks up in this spot to try to cover in case he went for the protect.
and that's going to be now final Pokemon, this Archaludon. We already got to see join the field. And Archaludon, I mean, when we talk about a Pokemon that can all through teams, this Archaludon can do damage. Dragonite does have the speed boost, but it's also taking a lot of damage, and still, with that Psychic Terrain, it can't necessarily go for a last hit before potentially getting KO'd here. So definitely a little bit of a funky situation. This Archaludon, I mean, if it gets this opportunity to start getting some boost under it, it could get a little bit weird, but I think that might have the damage output, but I don't know. We'll have to see how much is being done like after that terrestrialization.
The other crucial thing for Kylan here is this is a sturdy Archaludon, not a stamina Archaludon. So that could have been a point with two physical attackers on the other side if they just keep punching into a physical wall that gets stronger and stronger with more stamina boost. Might have made this Archaludon better, but he's not going to get defense boost. You can get a special attack boost from your Electro Shot connecting with that Power Herb, but you can't obviously hit Extra Drill with an electric attack. So if you want a special attack boost to do more damage, you're going to have to target Annihilate, which thus makes the Rage Fist stronger.
And Scale Shot, you did get the one critical hit, but you're also only getting 4 hits onto that Extra Drill. Now you have -2 speed on your side. Rage Fist into this Archaludon. It did go for the turret grass. It's definitely a sturdy little boy, basically no damage, and it's really gonna have to hold up to now this 1v2 fight that it has up ahead of it. Draco Meteor, when you're looking at trying to even the score, that's gonna be a way. Extra Drill gets taken down. Now we get the 1v1, but that is going to be the special attack harshly lowered.
Critical hit into a resisted Pokemon. However, Extra Drill not known for its tankiness if you're gonna run it as a sand attacker. It's probably not invested too much into the defenses, so not sure if the critical hit matters, but this is a full health Annihilate. Now Archaludon has to use the Electro Shot just to try to bring its special attack back to -1 since it's been dropped 2 times. Close combat no longer super effective, but it looks like it can potentially be a 2-hit KO.
Yeah, it'll be able to get that done next time around. The special defense will fall on this one, and Electro Shot, thanks to that Power Herb, since this isn't a rain team, it does have to have that item to instead have this boosted up. You get that special attack raise, so you're at an astounding -1 now. Fully
but
powered
the defense shot from close combat essentially neutralizes it, right?
I think if we got a critical hit, I think we're in a world of danger.
You got to go for Draco at this point. If you have to hope you can endure the close combat to begin with, which is a really strong base power attack. But if you do, you got to go for Draco for the win.
It's not going to hold on. Archaludon, it has fought its last fight there in close combat. I mean, that's going to be Jess and Romolo to win this round as what you thought, Kylan.